He thought he found love in
Oh
her
my
arms
God, that's
until he overheard her
amazing. I
plotting
can't
to destroy
wait.
him. But instead of canceling the wedding, he shocked the world by replacing his bride with her own sister, right at the altar. If you are new on this YouTube channel, please subscribe. If you are an old subscriber, I appreciate you. Olamide never liked loud places. But that day, he had no choice. His best friend was hosting a business dinner at a luxury restaurant in Abuja, and everyone expected him to show up. Olamide arrived late, hoping to stay quiet, eat, and leave. But everything changed when he saw her. Adesawa walked in with her friend, laughing softly. Her yellow dress hugged her like sunlight. She wasn't the loudest person in the room, but Olamide couldn't stop staring. Something about her calm smile pulled him in. They locked eyes once, and she gave a small nod. It felt simple, but Olamide would remember that moment forever. He later found out that she was his friend's cousin. During dinner, they sat near each other and started talking. Her voice was soft, her jokes sharp, and she listened like she cared. For the first time in a long while, Olamide forgot about business deals and money. He was just a man sitting with a woman who made his heart beat different. That night, he didn't ask for her number. He simply said, "It was nice meeting you." But deep inside, he knew he wanted to see her again. And he would. Fate didn't wait long. 2 weeks later, Olamide ran into Adesawa again, this time at a charity event his mother organized. She was helping with the food and drinks. When she saw him, she smiled like they'd been friends for years. He walked up to her, holding 2 drinks, and said, "You always show up where I least expect." From that moment, they started seeing each other more. Lunches turned into dinners. Random messages turned into long phone calls at night. They talked about small things, her love for fashion, his fear of wasting time, the way Abuja changes after rain. They laughed often, and sometimes they just sat in silence. Olamide introduced her to his circle slowly. His driver picked her up sometimes. He gave her small gifts, nothing too big, just enough to say, "I'm thinking of you." He told her things he didn't share with anyone else. And when she said she liked quiet places, he rented out a garden in Woods for one night, just for the 2 of them. That night, she kissed him first. But one thing Olamide never noticed. Adesawa always looked around before she smiled at him, like she was checking who was watching. He thought it was just nerves. He never imagined that behind her gentle laugh, something dark was hiding. After 2 months of dating, Olamide decided to take a bold step. He invited Adesawa to his parents' house for dinner. It wasn't just any dinner. His father had flown in from Port Harcourt, and his mother had prepared her famous egusi soup herself. This wasn't a casual invite. In Olamide's world, meeting the family meant one thing. He was serious, Adesawa, dressed in a classy green gown. She looked elegant but humble, exactly what Olamide knew his mother would appreciate. When they entered the massive mansion in Maitama, Adesawa's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't let the shock show. She smiled warmly at his mother and shook his father's hand with both of hers. The dinner went better than expected. His mother asked questions. "Where are you from? What do your parents do? What are your dreams?" Adesawa answered them like she had been preparing for years. She spoke softly but with confidence. She praised Olamide's discipline and even told a small story about how he helped a market woman fix her tire. The room filled with laughter. After the meal, Olamide's mother pulled him aside. "She's quiet," she said, "but she carries herself well. I can see why you like her." Olamide smiled, proud. He didn't know that outside, while everyone was talking, Adesawa had just sent a message to someone. It read, "They love me. This will be easier than we thought." Olamide started noticing small things. At first, he ignored them. He thought maybe he was overthinking. But with time, the signs became louder. Adesawa never talked about the future, unless Olamide brought it up. She never introduced him to her own family, except her younger sister Amaka, who was shy and quiet. Even when he offered to visit her home in Garki, she always said, "Let's wait a bit. Things are scattered." One night, after a dinner date in Jabi, Olamide gave her his phone to show her a meme. She smiled and laughed, but when he got the phone back, he noticed one of his apps had been recently opened, the one that showed his bank account balances. His chest tightened, but he said nothing. Not yet. Then came the night he walked into his own guest house to grab a file he forgot. He heard a voice, a male voice. Curious, he stepped back and listened. It was Adesawa. She was on the phone, laughing. "I swear, Baby, she said. 6 months max. After the wedding, I'll give it 6 months. We'll split the money, and I'm out. His parents adore me. The fool doesn't even suspect anything. Olamide didn't move. His heart didn't race. His hands didn't shake. He just stood there, his mind blank. A soft wind blew through the open door, brushing against his skin. But it couldn't cool the fire that had just started burning inside him. He quietly turned away, left the guest house, and walked to his car. As he sat in silence, he said just one thing under his breath. So, that's who you really are. Olamide didn't sleep that night. He sat alone in his study, staring out the window. His chest felt heavy, like something had cracked deep inside him. He thought about the dinners, the laughter, the garden night, the kisses, all fake. Every sweet word was part of a plan to take his heart and his money, but Olamide was not a man who cried easily. He was a businessman, a silent fighter, and in that moment of heartbreak, he made a quiet decision. He would not confront her. He would not shout or argue. No, he would play along. He would smile, love her harder, and wait for the perfect moment to strike back. The next morning, he sent Adesawa flowers, white lilies with a card that said, "Counting down to forever." She sent back a voice note saying, "Ah, baby, you're too sweet. I love you." Her voice was warm, but now it sounded different to him, like poison covered in sugar. For the next few weeks, Olamide acted like the perfect fiancé. He introduced her to more family members, gave her a new car, even asked his cousin to design her wedding gown. Behind the scenes, he hired a private investigator. He needed to know everything: who the secret lover was, where they met, what they planned. The truth would be his weapon, and all through that time, only one person noticed something was wrong: Amaka, Adesawa's younger sister. She saw the quiet anger behind Olamide's eyes. She saw how his smiles didn't reach his heart anymore. Amaka was nothing like Adesawa. While her older sister wore heels and makeup, Amaka preferred sneakers and books. She barely spoke unless spoken to, and she always stayed in the background. But lately, she found herself watching Olamide more closely. One evening, after helping with some wedding arrangements, Amaka found Olamide sitting alone on a garden bench. The sun was setting behind him, casting a soft light on his face. She walked over slowly and sat beside him without a word. "You're very quiet today," she said, almost in a whisper. Olamide turned to her. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to speak, then changed his mind. "Just tired," he said. Amaka paused. "You don't have to lie to me," she added. "I may be quiet, but I see things. And I feel things. Something's not right, is it?" Olamide looked at her. This girl, barely 22, saw him in a way no one else did. Her eyes were kind, not greedy, not fake, just real. In that moment, something stirred in him, something warm, something honest. "I'm fine, Amaka," he replied. "But thank you for asking." Amaka gave him a small, understanding smile. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." She stood and walked away, leaving Olamide alone with his thoughts. He watched her go, and for the first time in weeks, he felt peace. Just for a second, but peace doesn't last long. When betrayal is sleeping beside you. 3 days before the wedding, Olamide's investigator sent him a message. "You'll want to see this in person." They met at a quiet estate in Asakoro. No one followed. No one saw them. The investigator handed him a small envelope filled with photos and one voice recording. The photos showed Adesawa and a man, dark-skinned, tall, rough beard, kissing behind a hotel in Wuya. In another, she was handing him a gift bag. In the third, they were laughing as they got into a black car. Olamide's stomach turned, but he pressed play on the voice recording, and that was when the fire came back. Adesawa's voice was clear. "We'll get the house in Banana Island once I'm done. He's already adding me to his will. You just have to be patient. After 6 months, we vanish. Simple." The man laughed and replied, "I trust you, baby. Just keep acting sweet." Olamide leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was humiliation, betrayal, a full performance. And everyone believed it, except him. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. Instead, he made another decision: let the wedding happen. But he wouldn't marry Adesawa. No, he had someone else in mind. Someone honest. Someone whose smile didn't hide a knife. The wedding rehearsal was set at a grand hall in Abuja. The decorations were flawless: gold and ivory flowers, crystal chandeliers, soft flute music playing in the background. Adesawa walked around like a queen, instructing planners, checking her makeup, pretending to blush at compliments. Olamide arrived dressed sharp in a navy blue kaftan. He walked hand in hand with Adesawa, kissed her forehead in front of the guests, and whispered, "You look perfect, my love." But inside, he was counting the hours. Amaka watched them closely. She had seen the distance in Olamide's eyes. She didn't understand it fully, but her heart told her something was wrong. She tried to speak to her sister that evening, asking softly, "Are you sure this is love, Desawa?" Adesawa scoffed. "Love is for poor people. What I'm getting is better." Amaka said nothing more, but her heart broke silently. That night, Olamide sent a private message to Amaka. "Please wear something elegant tomorrow. You're sitting in the front row. I have a surprise." She replied with a confused "okay." But something about his message made her uneasy. Meanwhile, Adesawa was celebrating in a hotel room with her secret lover. She toasted with wine and laughed. "Tomorrow I become Mrs. Olamide Adekunal." Then the countdown begins. She didn't know that tomorrow would be the day her plans fall apart in front of the entire city. The wedding morning arrived with the sun glowing brightly over Abuja. Expensive cars lined up outside the grand event hall. Uniformed waiters rushed in and out. Chefs prepared exotic meals, and guests in stunning asoebi filled the venue. Everything looked perfect. On the outside, Olamide stood in his dressing room, staring at his reflection. His agbada was white, with gold embroidery, fit for royalty. His shoes were polished, his beard trimmed. He looked like a man ready to marry. But his eyes, they were calm in a dangerous way. His best man knocked and entered. "Guy, are you sure you're okay? You don't even look nervous." Olamide smiled faintly. "I'm not nervous. I'm just ready." In the bride's room, Adesawa was glowing. Her gown sparkled, her hair was styled to perfection, and her lips curved in a proud smirk. She looked in the mirror and whispered, "Mrs. Adekunal." "I like the sound of that." Guests stood and clapped as the ceremony began. Traditional dancers entertained the crowd. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Olamide's parents sat proudly at the front, waiting for the moment their son would become a husband, but only Olamide knew. The bride everyone was celebrating would not be the one walking down the aisle. Everyone stood as the bride was called forward. The music played. The announcer's voice echoed through the hall. "Please welcome the beautiful bride." But there was silence, then gasps. Adesawa stepped forward, confused. She wasn't the one in the spotlight. It was Amaka, dressed in a soft champagne-colored gown, glowing but nervous. She walked down the aisle slowly, every eye on her. Olamide stood at the altar, calm and unshaken. "What's going on?" Adesawa shouted from the back. Her voice cracked. Olamide raised his hand and spoke clearly. "Today, I choose the woman whose heart is pure, not the one who sold her vows before." She even said them. The guests looked around, shocked. Murmurs filled the hall. Someone dropped a wine glass. Olamide turned to the crowd. "Adesawa," he said without anger, "I know everything. The secret lover, the plans to divorce me, the lies. I heard it. All. I saw it all." Adesawa froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her legs weakened. Amaka stood still, tears in her eyes. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear." Olamide nodded. "I believe you." Then, looking straight into Adesawa's eyes, he added, "You wanted to play a game, but you forgot. I don't lose." Gasps, whispers, stares. The room was on fire without flames. Adesawa ran out, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Her dream wedding, ruined, and Olamide, standing beside Amaka, took a deep breath and said softly, "Now, let the real story begin." The wedding hall was in chaos. Some guests were whispering in shock. Others were calling loved ones to gossip. But Olamide remained calm, his hand gently holding Amaka's as they walked out quietly through the side entrance. Outside, photographers who had been invited to take private shots were confused. Some still aimed their lenses, unsure who the bride really was. But Olamide's bodyguards blocked them off. This moment wasn't for the world. It was private. Inside the car, Amaka sat stiffly. She looked at Olamide with tearful eyes. "I didn't know anything, Olamide. I swear to you, I never wanted to be a part of this." He nodded slowly. "I believe you." I've been watching you for weeks. You're not like her. But why me? She asked. Why not just cancel everything? Olamide looked out the window before replying. Because you were the only thing real in that whole mess. You didn't ask for anything. You didn't pretend. You were just you. Amaka turned away, her heart pounding. This wasn't how she imagined love. Not like this. But something inside her was beginning to bloom. Quiet, unsure, but real. Back at home, Adesawa was screaming. Her eyes were red from crying, and her voice shook the walls. He humiliated me. In front of everyone. That useless goat. Her mother tried to calm her. Desawa, please calm down. Let's think. Maybe we can talk to him. But her father was furious. Talk to who? Olamide. After what you did. What kind of shame have you brought to this family? Adesawa collapsed on the sofa, sobbing. I loved him once, but I knew he wouldn't last. Men like that, they get bored. I had a plan. A smart one. I was just being safe. Her mother shook her head. You played with fire, and you got burned. Then came a call from the man she betrayed Olamide with. You set me up, he shouted. You told me it was safe. Now my face is all over the news. My wife saw the pictures. Adesawa's eyes widened. You're what? You're married. He ended the call. And for the first time that day, Adesawa felt small, powerless, cornered. Meanwhile, Olamide's parents sat with him and Amaka in the family lounge. His mother asked, Are you sure this is the path you want? Olamide looked at Amaka and smiled gently. It's not about a wedding anymore. It's about peace. And she gives me that. His father nodded. Then start from friendship again. No pressure. No shame. Just honesty. And for the first time since everything exploded, Amaka smiled. The drama didn't stay quiet for long. Even without newspapers or cameras, the news spread like wild harmattan fire. From beauty salons to boutiques, from high-end bars in Guarimpa to pepper soup joints in Nyanya, everyone had something to say. Did you hear what happened at Olamide's wedding? The bride was replaced by her own sister. He stood her up in front of rich people. Adesawa stayed indoors for days, afraid to show her face. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Amaka in that gown, walking down the aisle like she belonged there. Her anger turned to obsession. She began to stalk Amaka's every move online. Where she went, who she was with, what she wore. Then she started sending messages, first to Olamide. You think you've won? Don't forget who you're messing with. Then to Amaka. You stole my life. But I'm not done yet. Olamide blocked her immediately, but Amaka didn't. She read every message with shaking hands, heart pounding. She didn't know if Adesawa was just angry or planning something deeper. Amaka had moved into one of Olamide's guest rooms, but things weren't easy. Every time she stepped out, she felt people's eyes on her. Some pitied her, others judged her. She didn't ask for this love triangle. She didn't even want it. But somehow, she was now in the center of it. Olamide tried to make her comfortable. He brought her books, sat with her during meals, and always asked how she was feeling. But Amaka kept her distance. Not because she didn't like him, but because she didn't trust herself. I feel like a thief, she told him one night as they sat in the garden. Olamide looked at her gently. You didn't steal anything. I gave you that spot because you deserved it. She shook her head. Maybe, but the whole world thinks otherwise. He reached out, touched her hand softly. Let them think what they want. They don't live in this house. You do, and that means something to me. But even as he spoke, his phone vibrated on the table beside them. Another message from a blocked number that it simply read, Your peace won't last long. Olamide stared at it quietly. He didn't show it to Amaka. He just smiled, changed the subject, and asked if she wanted tea. But inside, he knew Adesawa was not done. A week passed. Olamide focused on business. Amaka stayed mostly indoors, helping with small projects in his office and organizing charity events with his mother. Things were calm, but quiet calm always hides a storm. One afternoon, a strange invitation arrived at the gate. It was a gold-colored envelope with no return address. The handwriting was neat. Inside was a simple note. Meet me at Hilltop Garden, 5 p.m. Come alone. Let's talk. You owe me that. Adesawa. Olamide read the message twice and folded it slowly. He didn't show Amaka. He didn't tell anyone, not even his driver. At 4:45 p.m., he took one of the smaller cars and drove himself. The garden was empty, except for Adesawa sitting on a stone bench beneath a flowering tree. She wore all black, simple, sharp, controlled. But her eyes were wild. "You really came," she said, standing. Olamide didn't smile. "Say what you need to say." Adesawa stepped closer. "You humiliated me, Olamide. You turned me into a joke. You turned yourself into one." She scoffed. "You really think my sister is innocent? You think Amaka didn't know? She's been crushing on you from the beginning." Olamide's jaw tightened. "I don't care about your games anymore." Adesawa moved closer, too close. "You should, because I still have things that can destroy both of you." Olamide turned and walked away, but her final words followed him like smoke. "If I can't have the life I built, then nobody will." Olamide didn't tell Amaka about the meeting immediately, but his silence weighed on him like a stone. That night, as they sat together in the lounge, she noticed he was distant again. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked gently. He looked up, surprised. "How did you know?" "I've known Desawa my whole life. She doesn't stay quiet when she's losing." He nodded slowly. "She's dangerous, Amaka. She's not just angry. She's ready to burn everything." Amaka stood and paced. "She still has access to my old phone. I shared passwords with her once. I changed most of them, but what if?" Olamide stood. "Let's lock everything down. Emails, accounts, bank details. I'll handle the security. But from now on, you don't move alone. Not even to buy water." "But I don't want to live like I'm in hiding," Amaka whispered, almost crying. "I know," he said, gently cupping her face. "But I need you safe. That's more important to me than anything else." She nodded slowly, eyes filled with worry. "I trust you." And that night, for the first time, he kissed her. It was soft, careful, like something blooming again after a fire. But just across town, Adesawa stood on a balcony, staring into the city lights, her fingers scrolling through old videos, old chats, old secrets, and she whispered, "Let's see how strong their love really is." 2 days later, Olamide's office was buzzing as usual. Amaka had started working with his HR team part-time. She was quiet but efficient, and people liked her. Her presence in the building gave Olamide peace, but it wouldn't last. That afternoon, a brown paper envelope was slipped under his office door. No name, no sender. Inside were 5 printed photos. At first glance, they looked ordinary, until he looked closer. The first photo showed Amaka hugging her ex-boyfriend, something she had told Olamide about weeks ago. The second showed them sitting close in a restaurant. The third was a screenshot of a bank transfer Amaka made to him a year ago. The fourth showed her in a call, smiling. The fifth was a note. "She's just like her sister. Open your eyes before she robs you too." Olamide sat still for a full minute. Not angry, not afraid, just broken. A part of him wanted to believe it was fake, but the doubt had been planted. He didn't mention it that night, but his silence returned. His warm gestures slowed. Amaka noticed immediately. "You're pulling away," she whispered the next evening. "Did something happen?" Olamide looked at her for a long time before saying, "If there's something you need to tell me, now would be the time." Amaka frowned. "Olamide, what are you talking about?" He sighed. "Just tell me the truth, please." Amaka's lips parted, but she said nothing for a few seconds. Her voice finally came out in a broken whisper. "You got the envelope, didn't you?" Olamide gave a small nod. "I knew she'd dig up those photos," Amaka said. "Yes, I dated him. And yes, I sent him money once. He had helped me when I was sick. It was nothing more than that. I told you I had a past." "But the pictures," he began. She stepped closer, angry. "Now, do you think I would go through all this? Walk into fire, risk the hate from everyone, lose my sister, just to scam you? You really believe that?" Olamide looked torn. His eyes held conflict, not judgment. "I want to believe you, Amaka, but it's hard when everything around us feels like a setup." Amaka's eyes welled up. "I'm not her. I've never been her." She picked up her bag and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned around, voice trembling. "If you need time, take it. But don't let her win by making you doubt the only person who's ever stood beside you without asking for anything." The door closed softly, and Olamide stood alone, holding photos that suddenly felt very empty. The next morning, Olamide didn't go to work. He sat in his study, eyes heavy from a night with no sleep. Amaka's words echoed in his head. He hated himself for doubting her, even for a second. He could feel it in his chest. She was telling the truth. But his silence had pushed her away. His phone rang. It was his mother. Olamide, come home. It's urgent. He rushed to the house. In the living room sat his father, his mother, and, surprisingly, Adesawa, dressed in white lace, fake tears in her eyes. She says she's pregnant, his mother said, her voice flat. Olamide froze. Adesawa placed a hand on her stomach, lowering her head. It's yours, Olamide. I just wanted to tell you in person before the world hears it. The silence was thick. Olamide chuckled, shaking his head. Of course. Now I see the plan. You think this will pull me back? Adesawa looked up sharply. You're calling me a liar? I'm calling you desperate, he replied coldly. You lost, Disuwa. Stop embarrassing yourself. I have proof, she snapped. A hospital report. A sonogram. His father stood. You will do the right thing if it's true, Olamide. But Olamide didn't answer. He just walked out. As he drove away, his mind screamed. Could this really be happening? Or was it just one final game? Amaka was packing her clothes into a small travel bag when Olamide arrived at her flat and was. She didn't look surprised to see him. I figured you'd come, she said, folding her shirts calmly. I messed up, he began. I doubted. You. I let my fears speak louder than your love. Amaka didn't stop packing. It's not about the doubt, Olamide. It's about what comes after. Do you still trust me? Will you still protect me when it's hard? I will, he said quickly, if you give me another chance. She paused, then looked at him. She's pregnant. His eyes widened. How? Did you? It's already all over social media. I saw it this morning. He stepped closer. It doesn't change how I feel about you. I don't even know if it's true, but I need time to find out. Amaka nodded slowly. Then take it. But I can't stay in this storm with you. Not like this. She picked up her bag. Where will you go? He asked, pain in his voice, somewhere peaceful. I'll be fine, she whispered. Olamide walked her to the door. He didn't stop her. He didn't beg. He just watched her go, heart breaking. And as she stepped into the taxi, Amaka looked back one last time and said softly, when you're ready for truth, come find me. The car drove off. Olamide stood at the gate, alone again. But something inside him said, this wasn't the end. It was only the end of part 1.